The third way information flows inside any presentation, if the first one is from the presenter to the audience, the second one is from the audience to the presenter, the third one is between audience members. Get them talking about different points. Having good presentation skills is one of the best ways to fast track your career. It makes you feel more confident. It makes you seem more knowledgeable in front of your coworkers. And almost most importantly, it keeps you front of mind for leadership when they're thinking about who to promote or even who to put on a project. It's amazing that in a study done by Prezi, where they asked people how they felt about giving presentations at work, 20% of people actually said they would lie to get out of giving a presentation. They said they would, say their dog was sick or something like that. So by, kind of taking on this mantle and saying like, I am going to be a great presenter, it really serves as a way to set you apart from other people. I've been public speaking for a long time. I started out giving presentations in high school with the speech and debate team, continued to do that in college. I went to numerous national competitions for speaking. And of course, now I do it for my career, right? I am leading orientation sessions. I'm facilitating all kinds of training. So it's something that I have a lot of skill doing. I've done it for a really long time. And what I'd love to do today is basically break down 3 key tips that you can use to become a better presenter. And we're not going to be talking about so much like the speaking part of it, how to stand up straight or how to project your voice or anything like that. I really want to think a little bit more about the content, about what's going into it, because you can be the best presenter in the world, but if the content isn't good, then it's just not going to take you there. It's not going to get the job done. And so you want to start off, you need to practice speaking, but you really need to also be thinking about what you're presenting if you really want to be a great presenter. So to get started, I'll just ask a question. Have you ever been in a presentation where 5-10 minutes in, you're just kind of like, what are we doing here? And then maybe almost even worse, you get to the end, and you're just like, I just sat through that, and I'm not really sure what the point was. And so that's the first thing you need to avoid as a presenter, is make sure people don't have that reaction. And so what you need to do is make sure you clearly identify the takeaway of your presentation. What do you want people to remember, right? And I think one of the key things with this is you need to look at how long your presentation is and make sure to tailor what you want them to remember with how much time you actually have, because there's a pretty steep curve here, and the more you're asking them to remember, the less they're actually going to remember, right? So if you have, 15, 30 minutes, it needs to be 1 point. And that is it. Just one clear takeaway that you want people to remember, and that's all you're going to be able to cover. And then even if you go longer, I would still say there needs to be an overarching takeaway. If you walk out of this room, remember this one thing. You still need to have that, but then you can maybe add in some other subpoints as well. So that's the first thing you need to do with any presentation that you're going to give, is just really nail down, what's the point of this presentation? Why are people here? What are we doing? What's the takeaway I want them to have? So once you identify that takeaway, it's still possible for it to get lost. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Tenet. If you haven't, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but essentially the movie it's a time travel movie. At different points in the movie, you're going forward in time, backward in time. It's kind of confusing. And at numerous points, you're just sitting there kind of thinking like, I have no idea what's going on here. And chances are you've been in presentations like that too. And maybe they're super engaging, like everybody, maybe it's a big seminar and everybody's cheering, everybody's doing stuff. The presenter is filled with energy, but you step back and you're like, I don't know what's going on here. And you kind of lose track of what's happening. Now, the way to avoid that is to create a story within your presentation. A beginning, middle, and end, a hero's journey. Maybe the idea that you're presenting is the hero, or better yet, if you really want engagement, the audience is the hero. You need to create a story where the audience is a hero. They have a challenge. They have problems that are causing them certain challenges, and you're going to help them meet this challenge with this solution, right? Which is the point of your talk, the final takeaway. If you can create that clear arc of a story, it's going to be a lot more memorable, because remember, human beings, we evolved to tell stories. There's a reason why we had spoken language before written language. You go back, and the earliest things that are passed down to us from the ancient world were all passed through stories and fables. That was how we got across the important points and explained them to people. And the reason why we did it, it seems kind of strange. It's just like, well, why would something like, a religious text like the Bible be in the form of a story? Why doesn't it just list out the things that you're supposed to do and not supposed to do? Because nobody would remember that. We needed to tell a story to get those points across. And so if you want a good presentation, you need to first identify the point and then put that point within a story that people will remember. But those are great. Those first 2 points will really get you a long way and really set you apart. But now we also need to take it the final step and have a clear point that's put in a story that also engages with the audience. And in order to engage with your audience, I want you to remember the tripod of information flow within any presentation. So there's 3 different ways that information flows inside a presentation. So first is from the presenter to the audience. That's the one that we've been talking about, and that's the normal one that most people think about. And you can get that really nailed down. But the problem with that is that now you're doing kind of a balancing act, right? Where you're putting all the pressure on you, and you have to be engaged, and you have to be like really energetic, and your storytelling has to be amazing, or else you lose the audience. But if you think about, really big presenters who are getting paid thousands of dollars to do keynote speeches, that's what they're being paid to do, to balance on that one leg and really be there. And the weight of the whole presentation is on their shoulders. But if you're just giving like the quarterly sales numbers or something, you don't want to do that. You don't need all that pressure. So you want to engage the other 2 legs of the tripod. The second leg is, the second way that information flows is from the audience back to you, the presenter. So you want to do that by, engage that leg by asking questions. What do you think of this? Does this resonate? Does that point resonate with you? If you can get them talking and engaging, now they're a part of the conversation. Now they're involved in the presentation, and they're going to think more highly of the presentation because in part it's kind of them. Like, they're the ones bringing some of the energy. They're the ones bringing some of the information into the presentation. And so they're going to be more engaged and more present and more likely to remember. But that's still only 2 legs. The third way information flows inside any presentation, if the first one is from the presenter to the audience, the second one is from the audience to the presenter, the third one is between audience members. Get them talking about different points. If somebody asks a question that relates to a point somebody made earlier, then turn to that person and say, well, what do you think? Or if you know everybody in the room, you know their positions, their areas of responsibility, bring them into the conversation and have them, add to different points or explain questions that other people are asking. If you can get everybody involved in the conversation, involved in the story, then it's just going to be that much more of an impactful presentation. It's going to make them feel more excited. It's going to make you look better. And it takes a lot of the pressure off of you as the presenter, right? All the weight isn't on your shoulders. You're bringing them in so that they're part of the conversation and getting everything moving forward. So I can speak from personal experience that being able to present effectively is certainly a way to drive your career forward. And if you want to get good at presenting, then you need to, before every presentation, think about what's the takeaway of this presentation. Place that takeaway inside a story, and then while you're telling that story, engage with your audience by making sure that information flows in all 3 of those directions, from you, the presenter, to the audience, audience to presenter, and then between audience members as well. If you can do that, you're really going to be able to elevate your presentation game to drive your career. I hope you found this information useful. If you did, make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening, and I hope to see you next time on The Practical Learning Professional. Thanks. Hey, are you new to learning or struggling keeping up with the learning needs of your organization? If you find yourself in that position, I want to help out. So down in the description of this video, there's a link to schedule time with me where we can chat about kind of the challenges that you're having and seeing if there's any way that Better Everyday Studios could help you take your learning organization to the next level. I'd really love to hear from you. Even if we never do business, I just love talking to learning people like you. So please go down to the description below and click on the link, set up some time with me. I'd really love to chat.